Hi all, my name is Lior. Do I normally say my name?
No.
Huh. I haven't done with these in so long, I forget how to go. Hi all, this is the make-even badging video for our scroll saw. So a scroll saw gets its name from the scroll on a violin or cello when you have those little curls, and that's one of the many things that you can do with a scroll saw. We'll go over all of its uses, as well as safety. In terms of safety, it's not all that dangerous. It's a very small blade. It does move up and down very quickly, but it moves up and down, which means if your finger were to touch it, it would probably cut, but then it comes up, so it's not pulling you into it. So you'll see people getting their fingers pretty close. I definitely recommend not touching the blade with your finger, but it's not a tool you need to be terribly afraid of. As with all tools, make sure everything is tied up and tucked away so nothing gets caught in it. Should go without saying at this point. So in terms of the things you can use it for, in general, because the blade is so small on this, you use it on thin material. So here we have some 1/8 inch hardboard material with a melamine coating in this case. And you really don't want to go too much thicker than 1/4 inch. You can, it'll just take a long time and you'll be breaking blades. The blades are very cheap, so it's not a big deal, but it's just not very enjoyable. It's good for very intricate work because the blade is so small. So you can do really pretty beautiful scroll work on a scroll saw with lots of little intricate designs. You can also do positive and negative cuts. So you could take this, let's say this was a sign we were putting up on the wall, and you could do a cutout. So in this case, let's say we were doing a big letter H just for yucks. Then what I've done is I've put a hole in our material here so that we can put the blade, we can take the blade off, put it through this hole, and then cut and remove the H. Let's say we wanted to keep the H, that's the piece that we wanted, then we could just come in from the outside, like that, and cut our shape out. So we'll show both of those ways, but that makes this a pretty cool tool compared to like a bandsaw. A bandsaw, you can't do an internal cut because it's one continuous blade. You can't come to the inside of this piece. So that's one of the cool features of the scroll saw. There are a lot of different kinds of blades. So on here right now, if you get really close, you can see that this is a pretty cool looking little blade because, I'll turn this light on, maybe that helps. It has teeth going in a spiral all the way around it. So that means it can cut in any direction. Not all scroll saw blades are like that. There are all different kinds that are available. We don't stock many. You're welcome to get them on your own. We will try to maybe stock some in the store that you can buy. There's a little rack here that lists the different kinds with some of the different styles of blades that we have here, some extras, but they should be in the store for purchase. And the way that we'll look at how the blade comes in and out so we can load our piece. So here, there's this big wooden knob, and this just pinches the blade up at the top. So it's just a little rod in there, a little screw, and it clamps it, and then same down at the bottom. There's this knob down here, so I'm just gonna twist that and pull it out, and same for putting it back in. So for now, we'll just put it back normally, so I'm just gonna put it right in there into that slot, tighten down on it. And it's pretty small, so it might take a few tries. It's important to do this when this sets the tension. So you see if I turn it this way, it lifts the whole thing up. I turn it there, it brings it down. So you want the tension to be at 0 when you do this. And as the sign on the back wall says, please detension the blade when you're done. Leaving the blade tensioned is not very good for it. So I'm going to tighten here, and then where you can pull tension on the blade, and you can see it. The tension that you pull, there might be some optimal tension. If there is, I don't know what it is. You don't want it so hard that it breaks when you try to use it. So you'll gain experience with that. But I think this is probably a pretty good place to start. So the little flex doesn't feel like it's going to break immediately to me. This little guy just blows air out. So as you're cutting, you're trying to follow a line normally, and it can be hard to do that with dust, so it just blows the dust out of the way. Then this is obviously just a light. Some other interesting things, this table can tilt. So if you are doing thicker material, sometimes you want to cut it at an angle. Right underneath here is a handle, so you could loosen this handle, and then tilt the whole table. If you do that, please return it to 90 degrees when you're done for the next person so they aren't confused why their cuts are a little off. Another thought, or thing that you can do with a scroll saw that is nifty is people have made hundreds and hundreds of designs out there that you can just follow. Or you could make it on the computer yourself, print out any of the designs that you've made or from the internet, and then use a glue stick and glue them onto your material. And then you just cut right through your material following those lines, and then peel the paper off when you're done. Or you can use, a light spray adhesive or something, so you can just peel it off or paint over it or sand it off, something like that. So that's a nice way to follow the designs. You can also draw the designs or just freehand it. So there are different things that you can do there. Another adjustment on here is the speed of the blade. So that's right back here. This is the slowest speed. And so I'll just turn it on. So you can see this is very slow. You won't get very far very fast at that speed. And then we can go faster. So it's going, that's max speeds. That's pretty fast. Something else that I forgot to mention is that when you load the blade, you want the teeth to face downwards. So as I run my finger down, it goes downwards no problem. When I try to come up, those teeth are biting my finger. And that's important because if you have your material and the teeth are facing upwards, as you try to push, they'll be lifting your material off the table, which is pretty frustrating. You want them pointing down so it's cutting down, the table supporting your work, and it's cutting down through it. So it's important to make sure the blade is mounted in that proper orientation. So now we're just going to try cutting something. We can cut these two H's out with my beautiful handwriting. So I'm just going to turn this on, and I'm going to bring the speed up to in the middle and just follow the line. And with this one, because this blade cuts in every direction, normally you would have to turn your work. And because the blade is so small, you can get really small turning radii. This particular blade actually has a pretty wide kerf because it has teeth all the way around. But that means that you don't need to turn. So I can just start cutting this way. I don't need to turn the whole piece. So you can imagine how that would be useful if, this has a pretty deep throat, but there are some pieces that would fit back there, which wouldn't be good. So I'm feeling as I'm pushing, there's some resistance, so I'm just going to increase the speed a bit. There we go. And I can move this closer, and that just blurs the dust. So a few takeaways. You can see that I wasn't doing a good job of following the line because I was just hurrying to show you how this works. Another is I was keeping my hands pretty close to keep pressure down on the material so it wasn't getting pulled up each time. So those are just a few takeaways. Another is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to detension the blade, loosen this, and put it right through this hole, just like that. And now mount it right back up in here, and then start cutting again. And so you can imagine if you're doing something really intricate, you might be doing that 100 times for all the little holes that you're putting it through in your design with leaf work or something like that. So you get pretty quick at it. And then we can just do this again. It's pretty self-explanatory at this point. All right, and just like that, we've now cut out the shape. Obviously, you have to detension again and remove the blade if you want to get your piece out. And as the sign on the wall says, make sure to detension the blade and turn the light off when you're done. And as with all tools, make sure to clean up thoroughly, vacuum, throw away all the little scraps when you are finished. And that is how to use the scroll saw at Makehaven. Thanks for watching.